Hello, hello, hello everyone, and welcome to our 2022 most anticipated list video. But the one thing that's keeping me from having this higher on my list is that although I'm excited for the first solo Batman film in 10 years, I haven't been impressed with every single film by Matt Reeves.
I have faith that this will be a movie for the ages. We will see soon as it comes out in early March. Holy shit, that's so close.
As you can tell from our expectations and where we put the Batman on our most anticipated films list, I was the least enthusiastic of the two. I have been burned by every Batman film since 2012, and to have gone this long without something nearing the quality of The Dark Knight seemed absurd to me, considering how many great Batman stories that exist out there to take inspiration from. If you've been with us for the past year, you know exactly how I feel about pretty much every interpretation of this character, and I can confidently say that the 14-year drought is officially over. I mentioned this in our Dark Knight retrospective in 2018, but I think it still applies that whenever an above-average superhero movie comes out, everyone says it's the best superhero movie since The Dark Knight. And whenever the next superhero movie comes out, it is again compared to The Dark Knight. Not the previous movie, but The Dark Knight. Now, I have never said that because for all of these years, that would be a ridiculous thing to say until now, because this time, it's actually true.
Wake up! Wake up, wake up, wake up! Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake!
The introduction of the Batman with the use of narration and having it bookend the movie was an interesting choice for a film like this. I usually hate it when narration is used as a framing device, but seeing as though this is a neo-noir, and the fact that Batman journals after every night, I thought it was okay, and I didn't mind it for the most part. I did think, though, it would have been a better choice to have it run sporadically throughout the film to maintain that stylistic and character choice. Not explaining how Batman feels or things that are obvious or things that you can show visually, but more like how Portrait of a Lady on Fire uses narration. But I won't spoil how it's used in that film. You just have to see it for yourself, and if you know, you know. The one thing about the narration I could have done without is that whole passage about scars. It was a little cringe, even on the third time I watched it. But in the beginning, the narration is used to introduce this huge, lived-in, and grimy landscape. There is so much world building going on here, but unlike something like Star Wars where they need a whole show to build a world just to show how small the universe is by linking it to a legacy character,
Ray Skywalker.
the Batman unveils its world through throwaway moments, like when Batman is escaping from the GCPD, and you see him run past hallways full of cops, and when he grapples all the way up to the roof, you see floor after floor of people trying to catch him. And speaking of people, there are so many extras in this movie, and you see our characters interacting with them, and they feel real. And it helps make places like the Iceberg Lounge and the 44 Below feel alive. Speaking of which, every song that was playing during either of the club scenes were bangers, and I have been listening to them non-stop for days and days on end. What really helps Gotham feel like a real place is the combination of the cinematography, production design, and visual effects. The visual effects are the one thing you want to be completely invisible, because if you notice it, the illusion is completely broken. Here, except for maybe one or two shots, I didn't notice it at all. The usage of the LED volume, which you're probably familiar with if you've watched The Mandalorian, is basically an updated rear screen projector where through computer magic, it's aligned with the camera's movement, so the background's moving whenever the camera moves, and it reflects light and can light a whole set so it doesn't look fake as shit when it's in the background, which actually helps given the amount of time we spend on that rooftop. I love the design of Bruce's Gothic tower in the middle of the city, how the shapes in his parents' room look like bats, and the amount of wood used in the living area was kinda shocking. And it actually got a couple of reactions in my 3 viewings so far. I loved how the shadows in most of the environments were allowed to live, and it was even used to introduce the Riddler in the beginning of the film. I also love that over-the-shoulder shot of him watching the mayor take his final drink right before he killed him. I loved that most of the action sequences chose interesting angles angles like in the car chase or when Selena goes into the 44 below. And for the fight scenes, how the camera was pulled back and we got to see the fight choreography and the stunt performers with Robert Pattinson, who chose to do a lot of his own stunts, speak for themselves. And even standout moments like in the hallway leading into Falcone's office, where you see the Batman fighting in complete darkness and it's only lit by gunfire. It's really cool. There's some really cool ideas in this movie.
It's like got that like, oof.
And these aspects are bolstered by immersive sound design, Michael Giacchino's score, and the music supervisor. Again, those club bangers gave me life. The sound of the Batmobile revving up and the build-up will probably be one of the most memorable movie moments of the year. We get another iconic Batman theme in all of its variations. I don't think Catwoman has ever had a bad theme in any of the Batman films she's appeared in, and that Riddler motif along with the rendition of Ave Maria is incredibly menacing. But who cares about the technical aspects of filmmaking, am I right? It's all about the stars. Well, Disney's ABC network certainly believes that. Anyway, every actor in this film with a major role or a less significant supporting role, like Officer Martinez, all get moments to shine in The Batman.
Hey, Mr. Wayne.
Paul Dano's unpredictable delivery and the way he manipulated different tones from scene to scene depending on who he was engaging with, I found really interesting. Colin Farrell and the makeup artist Michael Marino, who created the prosthetics for the Penguin's face, steal the show in the very few scenes he has. I love Farrell's accent, he has so many memorable lines, and his introduction is incredible. The way the editing was ramping up as the fight scene was progressing, and then once he appears, the shot stays on him, and he stops Batman completely in his tracks. It was very cool. John Turturro as Carmine Falcone brought a lot to the role that I felt was against type for him. I think just about every actor has the ability to play a character like this, but to see him do it specifically was satisfying. Peter Sarsgaard also knocked it out of the park. He played that scene with the bomb perfectly. It was amazing. He was juggling so many emotions at once. It was truly entertaining. Zoe Kravitz gives easily the best performance of her career so far. She's given opportunities to reveal layers and nuance as the film progresses. Jeffrey Wright as Gordon is such an inspired casting choice. He doesn't bring the intensity that Gary Oldman did, especially in The Dark Knight, but along with his silky smooth voice, he brings warmth and levity to offset the dark world around him. As you probably know, I've been very high on Robert Pattinson for the greater part of this channel's life cycle. I was very excited about his casting as Batman, and hey, I wasn't wrong because the title of this film is correct. He is the Batman. He makes so many interesting choices that, like Portrait of a Lady on Fire, it really blurs the line of where the writing ends and his performance begins. Like how he never turns off being Batman even when he's Bruce Wayne, except for when he learns a version of the truth in that scene with Falcone, and directly after when he talks to Alfred at the hospital. His Batman voice is badass, his suit is badass, his fight scenes are badass, and I wish we got that one scene with the sunglasses from the trailer with the newspaper, but at least we got one of them. Robert Pattinson brings so much intensity to this role, and he said in an interview that he's constantly playing the death of his parents over and over again, and it shows. I'm only making this comparison because I saw it recently, but it reminds me a lot of Al Pacino in the second half of The Godfather after he comes out of hiding in Sicily and becomes the person that he didn't want to be. But that is where my praises end for the most part. The Batman, unfortunately, is not perfect, so there are some gripes I have with it that I will touch on lightly here and then expand upon in a future commentary where I have more time to complain. Sometimes this movie gets around the PG-13 limitations, and in other points, it greatly misses the mark and calls into question why this isn't rated R, even though there are ways to push the limits of a PG-13 rating in a better way. Speaking of violence, Batman straight up takes an explosion to the face and he's fine. He didn't run away. He didn't even try to block it with his gauntlets. He straight up took it to his exposed face. Speaking of explosions, Alfred survives that C4 blast in the same room as him, but something I think is a little more egregious than the Alfred thing is the fact that Penguin is walking just fine after surviving a horrific car crash like it never happened. My other gripe is a small one, but ever since The Social Network came out, it's It's really weird in club scenes where characters aren't shouting over each other. Even at bars, people shout because the music is too loud. But those pale in comparison to my final gripe, which I'm pretty sure you all know because you all saw this movie because this is a spoiler review. But my last big gripe with the Batman is with Warner Brothers and the fact that they can't just make a Batman movie without the Joker anymore. He's been referenced or has straight up been in every Batman movie since 2005. He even got his own movie. That cameo could have been for Victor Zsasz or Calendar Man or literally any other psychotic serial killer in his rogues gallery. He has the deepest one and we keep using this one character. It's annoying. If they wait to give him a major role in the third film, it's fine, but we really didn't need this cameo in this movie.
That's me. At first when I saw this movie, it was kind of a lot to take in. First off, this movie feels super bloated. Like it's 3 hours and you can really feel the 3 hours when you're not sitting in a nice reclining seat that is comfortable on your asshole. Especially when Bruce goes to see Alfred in the hospital, that's when I was like, bro, this movie is so long. My first time seeing this, I saw it in an IMAX theater, and if you've ever been to an IMAX theater, then you know the seats are just not the best. That is why I prefer Regal Cinemas sometimes over AMC, because their seats are always so great, but also right before the movie they beg you to please come work for them. During my second viewing at Regal Cinemas, it was much better since my butt wasn't literally hurting from sitting for so long. This movie was bloated, but it felt like an actual movie and not like it was a universe setup extravaganza until the very last 10 minutes. Can we please have one movie without the Joker? Oh my freaking goodness. I think Robert Pattinson was a weird Bruce Wayne. Man was an emo king, and he felt super awkward at every event he wasn't Batman. My other half brought up a good point right after I saw it and said the other versions have tried being charismatic, but Bruce doesn't care about being Bruce. He only cares about being Batman. And since he is still early in his career, he wouldn't have fully mastered that Bruce Wayne bravado yet. I like that point, and it did skew me away from totally writing him off as the worst Bruce Wayne. It still irks me a little bit because he literally lives in Gru's house from Despicable Me, but it's okay. It's whatever. When he first appeared on screen and all we heard was his boots,
that's a 10.
The action sequences really missed the mark for me. I was sitting there thinking, I can't believe Daddy Snyder, the god of DC, had better fight choreography than this movie.
We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication.
I want a Batman movie that's just like what we got, but with action sequences that are equal to the style of the Arkham games, if you're really good at them and not just pressing Y or triangle over and over until you win, but like a free flow combat style, where he doesn't kill people, please. Pattinson didn't kill, that was great too. I'm glad he didn't, I would have been upset. The conversation he had with Selena about not going down that path,
that's a 10.
There are weird instances in this movie where people just survive explosions to the face. I think that shit is super dumb. Like, come on guys. When Bruce gets blasted, that's the first time I actually got taken out. So annoying.
Is this a dead man, Doctor? Very dead, Mr. Spock.
I didn't really feel the
gravity
of the Riddler's plans until really my second watch. The first time he was like, Gotham's first family was corrupt, and I was like, that's it. But then when I thought about it, it did seem more crazy to me. Like Bruce has dedicated his entire life to this cause, and it's based on a lie. I like that the story was pretty grounded and not too over the top. The first 20 minutes were golden, and I thought we were about to get a 10 out of 10 movie. When Riddler showed up behind the mayor and the TV lights reflected on his glasses, terrifying. When the helicopter light hit the criminals and they saw the bat symbol and then they looked into the shadows wondering if he was there, bro, literally?
That's a 10.
Are you kidding me? Whose idea was that? That was amazing. I love you. Also, I specifically love the end of the movie. When the Riddler goon is unmasked and it's the guy from earlier in the funeral hating on the rich, and he says, I'm vengeance, and Batman realizes he can't only be vengeance, the whole sequence of him realizing and saving people was literally a 10 out of 10 Batman moment.
Like, oof.
When Batman is saving people and telling us that the city needs more, literally amazing. So good. He is a true hero, and I hope people who see this movie see that and get inspired. Loved it. Batman finally being a detective in the film is amazing. He was everything I've ever wanted him to be from the comics, and if you think he wasn't, well, you're wrong and go away. Thumb drive? Are you kidding me? Hilarious. The score for the film was good, with standouts being Batman's theme, of course, Riddler's theme, and Catwoman's theme. But I think they need a new variation of Batman's theme because it's played so often and and it's sometimes annoying, but shit, what are you gonna do? I really liked all the performances except for the Joker. I think my favorite was Batman, of course, but Colin Farrell as the Penguin? Take it easy, sweetheart. Get out of here, bro. He was eating, and I hope he is just as good in his HBO Max show as he was in this. Practical sets, practical costumes, practical effects. They really drove that car through fire during the chase scene. That is amazing. We need more in that in all aspects of superhero filmmaking. Also, thank God for Batman at Night. The mystery aspects of the movie were great. I really could not predict what was going to happen next, and I applaud Matt Reeves for writing a story that is interesting and attention-grabbing. This was definitely a great, well-made Batman film, but for me, it's something that does get better with every rewatch, but at first, I really did not want to ever watch it again. Boy was I wrong, because this shit is high-key art. I loved a lot of aspects of it, and I can't wait to see it again. I'm giving The Batman an 8 out of 10.
In conclusion, I think The Batman is overall a great film. It feels like a real picture that people were passionate about making. The 3-hour runtime wasn't a problem for me for the most part the first time I saw it, but the second and third time completely flew for me. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this movie since I saw it, and Matt Reeves didn't disappoint at all, and I'm happy to say that this is the first film of his that I've loved since Cloverfield. It doesn't feel connected to a universe, it doesn't feel artificial, and this is not to say that this genre hasn't had good movies come out in the last 14 years, you know? We've had Logan, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and Doctor Strange, but this just really hit me. And if Warner Brothers is telling the truth about their philosophy about trusting the filmmakers from now on and just having them make their own movies, then I think this won't be the last time that I make a crazy statement like this. And I'm giving The Batman an 8 out of 10. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you agree or disagree, tell us in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share with your friends. Do all the things. Okay, bye-bye.
You have to get past the Avengers and Marvel shit at some point, okay? Other people make movies.